day one. And this is the legal tampering period has officially opened, even though the contracts can't officially be signed yet. But it's the same thing that we see in the NBA July 1st at not 8:59 p.m. or whatever it is. And that's Pacific Standard Time. Point is, the NFL free agency has started. Players are moving, teams are making moves. And so I wanted to highlight, as I have a fly that has been flying around me for the entire podcast, and I've tried to kill it, but trying not to make a scene, but now it's flying in front of my face. Sorry for the audio only listeners and for everyone, really, for getting distracted. I really tried to not. I wanted to get to a couple of my favorite moves, or a couple teams that have made some significant moves to start NFL free agency. And then we'll go around the panel and we'll hear from everyone just on things that stood out to them, because there are a lot of moves. We can't get to every single move. So we'll highlight the ones that stood out to each of us. You guys see the shirt, 49er faithful. You know where I got to start. I got to start in the Bay, and I ain't talking Tampa, because Mike Evans, arguably one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. He's one of two players to have over 1,000 receiving yards in 11 consecutive seasons. I got Keith with that one, but I credit George Kittle for saying welcome to the Bay, and then Tampa fans got really upset with George Kittle for that. Mike Evans signs a 3-year contract with the San Francisco 49ers worth up to $60.4 million, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. That wasn't the only move that the 49ers made today, as they signed Vidarian Lowe, an offensive tackle who was with the New England Patriots, the AFC champions. The 49ers signed him to a 2-year deal worth a max value of $12 million, $5.75 million guaranteed. So a move to try and protect Brock Purdy so then he can get the ball to Mike Evans, because it doesn't matter if we have Mike Evans if Brock Purdy is under pressure and he can't get the ball out to him, like we saw Brock Purdy running for his life the last time we saw him out on the gridiron against the Seattle Seahawks, who obviously went on to win the Super Bowl. The other move to highlight when it comes to the 49ers happened before free agency started, and this actually happened 2 days ago, and I was over the moon happy. I mean, I wasn't as excited, to be fair, as I was when I saw the news about Mike Evans today, because when I saw the alert come across my phone, I literally was saying out loud, oh, like just like that. It was pretty obnoxious. I apologize to my neighbors, but I was pumped. This move really made me excited as well, and that was that the 49ers agreed to a deal with their kicker, Eddie Pinheiro, for a 4-year deal worth $17 million, $10 million guaranteed. This is significant because the 49ers, us fans, we were suffering with the Michigan man, Jake Moody, who was absolute cheeks, a bust of a 3rd-round pick. He tried to tell me this guy is amazing. He was terrible. And yet, go ahead.
Stop. Don't do that. Don't cap on facts and stats. We have never had one Jake Moody conversation. You have never texted me once about Jake Moody. Oh, Jake Moody's cheeks. Jake Moody's trash. Stop lying to yourself. Okay, he was bad. Everyone gets he's bad. But don't lie on your own podcast and imply that we've ever had a conversation about Jake Moody. Don't.
Sean's looking for the receipts as we speak.
Yes, I literally
You don't want me to bring
Moody.
up C.J. Stroud last year in the playoffs, buddy. So
I Googled, or I didn't Google, but I searched in my messages just Moody, trying to find it. But then I remembered that I cleared all my text messages like 3-4 months ago. So
coincidentally, we don't have any Jake Moody files. There's no Jake Moody files.
I will take it on the chin. I'll take it on the chin. I wasn't able to pull any receipts on you, Keith. So I was wrong. Sorry. Nevertheless, he's a Michigan man. He represents you and his terrible kicks. Nevertheless, the 49ers got a guy in Eddie Pinheiro, who is absolute money, and now he gets paid, deservingly so, 4-year contract. So you're telling me that as a 49ers fan, I don't have to worry about my kicker for the next 4 years? That's amazing. Mike Evans, he was desperately needed. Yes, he's getting old. Yes, we're concerned about him with injuries. I know that's what every 49er pessimist will point out is, oh, Mike Evans is already on the injury report for the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, the substation already took Mike Evans ACL. I've already heard enough today about it. It's not going to kill my joy. A future Hall of Famer is joining the 49ers. Brock Purdy has a new weapon. Now Ricky Pearsall, as Toddy would like to call him, white boy Rick, gets to go from having to be the number one receiver to getting to be a second receiver, and he can thrive when all the attention isn't on him. And we're really going to need the both of them when the season starts, because George Kittle's going to probably be out at least half of the season, if not for the entire regular season. And so
don't forget about Brandon Ayuk.
I forgot about Brandon Ayuk on purpose. I don't think it's even worth me wasting my breath when it comes to that man anymore. I saw something that one of my friends sent me recently that Brandon Ayuk apparently like wasn't even doing his rehab, and like that's what led to the falling out with the 49ers is he wasn't doing his rehab. He wasn't responding to them when they were contacting him because he was never at the facility. Brandon Ayuk, it's a shame because like the guy went to Sierra College right up the street from us in Sacramento, and I was so happy. Man, I was so close to buying a Brandon Ayuk jersey like 2 years ago, and then I didn't, and I'm so glad that I didn't because I would look at that jersey and like shake my head. I'm really glad that I didn't get a Brandon Ayuk jersey. So I wanted to, as Gray Wolf says, Brandy Ayuk, never heard of her.
You should have let him wear those shorts, man. That was the downfall. When you didn't let him wear the shorts he wanted to wear, then he went that way.
Yeah,
the genius Kyle Shanahan wouldn't let him wear his favorite shorts.
Yeah, well, Gray Wolf's heart dropped hearing that Evans left Tampa Bay. My heart skipped a beat in another way because I was so happy. The other team that I wanted to highlight before we pass it around.
Evans, can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
So there have been 3 receivers in NFL history at the age of 32 to go to a new team and have 1,000 yards. Randy Moss, Larry Fitzgerald, and Jerry Rice. So being 32 and switching teams, you're already up there in age. We've seen him coming off an injury-riddled season. You guys paid him until he's going to be 36. You know, congratulations. You guys, Adam Schefter said you guys were the only team to offer a 3-year deal because everyone else understands. And it ain't really looking too hot. He's going to be a senior citizen. But, you know, I'm an Eagles fan, so I had to throw spite whenever I could. So, you know what, Mike Evans? I guess we'll have to see. So, Shaun, please continue.
Hey, well, I appreciate you mentioning that stat because that makes me feel even better about the deal. And, I think it was just over a year ago. It was during the NFL offseason. But, Kevin, you, myself, and Jaevon were talking about when George Kittle got his extension and the fact that George Kittle was going to be under contract till he was like 36 or 37. It's obviously he's injured now. That's very unfortunate, but seem to be working out so far. So I hope that's the case for Mike Evans as well. The other team that I wanted to highlight real quickly before we pass it around the panel to hear everyone else's thoughts on things that stood out to them, the Las Vegas Raiders. We were just talking about how they traded away their amazing talent in Max Crosby, and they got 2 first-round picks, which is huge, but they also cleared a lot of money that they had committed to Max Crosby, and they have been spending that money very, very quickly. Adam Schefter summed it up perfectly to where I can just read it off as a quick list. Starting off with center Tyler Linderbaum, who we were talking about is no longer on the Ravens. He got a 3-year deal worth $81 million. They are paying an offensive lineman $27 million a year, but it's because he was the best center on the market, and they're going to be drafting a quarterback number 1. They want to protect him to try and protect their investment, but also give him the best chance to succeed from day one. And now they got Tyler Linderbaum. So that's a great signing. You also look, the Raiders got linebacker Quay Walker, 3-year, $40.5 million contract. Another linebacker, Nakobe Dean from the Eagles, 3 years, $36 million. It hurts Kevin's heart, but I know it made Kevin happy when Nakobe Dean said it was between the Raiders and the Cowboys. And he said, I'm going with my gut. I'm going with the Raiders. As Kevin said in our group chat, he said, fuck the Cowboys. The Raiders also got wide receiver Jalen Naylor. You know him as a Minnesota Viking. 3 years, $35 million. Quiddy Pay, 3 years, $48 million. Quarterback Eric Stokes, 3 years, $30 million. That's a re signing for the Raiders as he was already in Las Vegas. They got defensive end Malcolm Kuntz, 1 year, $11 million deal. But this last one on the list is what stood out to me the most from Sheldon High School, Keith. None other than Taron Johnson, cornerback who has been underrated for years on the Buffalo Bills. He is your favorite NFL player's favorite NFL player, because those who know ball know how good Taron Johnson has been on the Buffalo Bills for years. He went from Sheldon High School to Weber State to the Buffalo Bills. Now he's back on the West Coast with the Las Vegas Raiders as they traded for him today. That's like Linderbaum will stand out. The two linebackers getting signed, that's noteworthy. But Taron Johnson ending up on the Raiders and also pairing him with Eric Stokes, who performed well for the Raiders, for them to want to re-sign him, that really stands out to me. And we'll see how it translates on the field. But for the Raiders to get 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby, and then in turn to take that money that they saved from trading away a generational talent and to spread it out the way that they have, I'm impressed. So those are the two teams that stand out to me. My bias with the San Francisco 49ers, but the Raiders, they are making moves. So, Kevin, I'm going to toss it to you next. Which moves have stood out to you from day one of NFL free agency and why? And I'm going to step away for a moment just to use the bathroom, but please let us know what stood out to you, Kevin.
So from a team standpoint, Keith, you got to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Robert Saleh is new on the job. Chris Dayball is new on the job, and they said we're not going to be the team of last year. So they are filling out this roster very well, bringing in Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 years, $70 million. John Franklin Myers is a very underrated defensive player. He is going to have a huge impact on this team. They got Daniel Bellinger back. They got Cornell Flott, and they got Lante Taylor. So they are building this team around Cam Ward. We saw Cam Ward struggle last year. Everyone had real high expectations for Cam Ward. But when your starting receiver, Calvin Ridley, just kind of falls off the map, you really don't have anyone else throwing the ball to. So for you guys to bring in a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who just had his best year of his career with Dayball, says a lot. And they still have the 4th overall pick. They can get a Jeremiah Love. They can go get him a Cardinal Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, whatever you like. They can still go out there and either put more money into this offense, because when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, that is the perfect time, to put weapons around him, because he's cheap and they're not expensive. So Robert Saleh is ready to change the momentum in Tennessee. And another move I wanted to talk about, it happened 2 days ago, I believe, when the Los Angeles Rams traded for Trent McDuffie. The Los Angeles Rams have made it very serious that we are back to the fuck them picks era. We don't care. And I get it. They still have the Falcons first round pick. So maybe if they didn't have that pick, this move doesn't be made. But the Kansas City Chiefs are under the impression that we need more talent. Yes, we can sign you, but we need more talent. So not only did the Rams give up a first, a third, and a fourth, they also made him the highest paid corner in the NFL. So the Rams are saying, essentially, for the past 2 years, we've been a top 3 team in the NFL every year, and we haven't been to the bowl. We played the Eagles. We lost in a snow game. We lost to the Seahawks. Our punt returner muffed the punt. A couple of plays here and there, and we're talking about the Rams being in the Super Bowl for the past 2 years. And another one that I want to talk about, I'm not a big Alec Pierce guy, but I had him on fantasy this year, so I was paying a lot of attention. And he deserved that payday, because from the Anthony Richardsons to the Daniel Jones to the who did they bring in? Who else did they bring from the Chargers? His name is skipping my head. Phillip Rivers. They bring in Phillip Rivers. So they have all different kinds of quarterbacks, and the one productive guy that stayed around because Jonathan Taylor really fell off was Alec Pierce. So I know he was going to be a top guy in the market. So for him to get that kind of payday, And the Colts today saying, Michael Pittman, you're gone. We are going to pour into your cup. Alec Pierce, you are going to be the number one wide receiver on this team. So the Tennessee Titans made a lot of good moves. I love what the Rams did, and then I wanted to shout out Alec Pierce because he deserved all bit of that $100 million.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add real quickly before we hear from Keith is Smoove is in the YouTube comments saying lots of movement happening. I completely agree. And Uncle Manny says Rams are all in with the Super Bowl at home and Stafford getting old. And a lot of people could argue that the Rams were the best team in the NFL from this past season. They just lost to the Seattle Seahawks not once, but twice. They did get them once at home, but the two times that they played them in Seattle, they lost. And we think back to that crazy Thursday night football game when Zach Charbonnet is picking up what we thought was an incomplete pass, but it ended up being a fumble, turns into a 2-point conversion. That ultimately determined who got the number 1 seed in the NFC. And a lot of people could argue if that game was in LA, then the Rams win that game. They go to the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl. So the Rams, as you said, Kevin, they are all in on the fuck them picks approach. And one thing I wanted to say real quickly, since you mentioned Alec Pierce, I don't know if you guys saw the way that news was announced, but he announced it, or he gave the scoop to Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee broke the news at the very beginning of his NFL free agency spectacular special that they were having on ESPN this morning. And McAfee did his intros. Then he was like, we got a deal to announce. He announced the Alec Pierce news, which is cool because obviously he's a former Colt. He does his show from Indianapolis. And then for them to break a local story to start was pretty cool. And then they had Alec on for like 5 minutes just to talk about why he decided to go back to the Colts. So that was really cool. And as you said, Kevin, well-deserved. Keith, the K names are getting me today. But Keith, what was the deals that stood out to you the most from day one in NFL free agency?
I'm going to double down on the Raiders. I thought the Raiders played today maybe as perfectly as you could with the money that they saved by trading Max Crosby. So, for starters, we're going to draft Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall. We do not want our franchise quarterback, hopefully of the next 10, 15 years of the future, getting beat up. We've seen that happen time and time again. We want to set Fernando Mendoza up for success in the long run. So what do? We go out and get, without a doubt, the best center on the market in Tyler Lindenbaum. We throw plenty of cash at him. Tyler Lindenbaum, among all centers in the National Football League, a 96.2 pass block win ratio. The only center in the NFL who has a higher pass block win ratio than Tyler Lindenbaum is Creed Humphrey of the Kansas City Chiefs. So good company right there. Then we go out and address our next biggest wink. We go out and address our next biggest, weakest link, aside from the offensive line, because we're going to spend at least 1 or 2 picks on the O-line in April. We go out on the defensive side of the ball. We go out and get a number of guys that have a high risk potential or high reward potential, I should say. For starters, we go out and take a chance on Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye had a down year last year, okay? But between 23 and 24, he had 16 and a half combined sacks. That's a guy that if you put him in the right system, he could pop. We go out and get Nakobe Dean, who was a vital role player in the Eagles defense. And then one of the more underrated moves, and shout out to Taron Johnson from Sheldon High School, we all stick together. They go out and get Jalen Naylor, speedster at wide receiver. Jalen Naylor started 15 games last year. You talk about durability because Justin Jefferson was hurt. Jalen Naylor filled in. He was a vital part of the Vikings passing game, which wasn't saying a whole lot because they didn't have a really big passing game, but he was a speedster. You throw him in the slot. Now maybe we can play with some options like Kevin alluded to earlier on. We can go out and get maybe Jordan Tyson with one of those second first-round picks, a guy that a lot of people are high on, or Mekhi Lemon, who everyone said, yeah, he had a bad interview. I'm not really concerned with interviews in the National Football League. I'm concerned with talent. Mekhi Lemon is a speedster. He can beat you deep. That is what I like to see. So maybe they go out and take a chance on Mekhi Lemon. And I like the move for Quay Walker. Career high, 128 tackles last season. Only the second Packer since 75 to record at least 100 tackles in each of his first 4 seasons. We'll throw some money at him as well. So again, I like what the Raiders did because the Raiders went in. They said, listen, we've got to throw some money around. We've got to get Fernando Mendoza in a position to be successful. How do we do that? We go and address the offensive line. We go out and get Linderbaum. We go out and get a guy like Jalen Naylor, who could be like a really good guy in the slot, speedster. Okay, we've still got Brock Bowers. We still got Michael Mayer at tight end. And underrated stat here. Ravens, for all the talk about Derrick Henry and the running game was obsolete, 156 rushing yard average last year, second in the National Football League. You don't think that doesn't bode well for Ashton Jeanty? So again, I like what the Raiders did. I like what Clint Kubiak and Tom Brady did. They obviously had a plan going into day one. They knew what they needed to address. They knew that they had to emphasize the offensive line because all you've heard for the last 4 or 5 months leading up to the draft is Raiders have a horrible offensive line. Fernando Mendoza, why would you want to go there? You're going to get killed. They go out and get the best center without a doubt on the market. They address that. I will also throw out another AFC West team, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. They threw a ton of money at Kenneth Walker. Now, K9 has had some injury problems in the past as Grey Wolf throws out there 3 years, $43 million. Travis Etienne went to the Saints. That's a good move for them. But I like Kenneth Walker on the Chiefs because the Chiefs have established the last 2 to 3 years the running game. Now, it's imperative that Pacheco, we talked about this a little bit in our group chat earlier, Shaun. Pacheco has not been healthy, but he's been dominant when he has been healthy. And so what you saw in Seattle with a guy like Charbonnet before he tore the ACL in the playoffs against your Niners and Kenneth Walker was that they were running a roughshod on everybody. So if you can get like 8 or 9 quality games for Pacheco, you pair him up with Kenneth Walker, that's a good tandem. And I do think they had to throw some money at Travis Kelce on the way out. He's been their guy for years. They had to give him the last dance treatment. That was just going to happen. But they're going to have to rely on the running game because you don't know when Mahomes is going to be back. You don't know what Mahomes is going to be like when he comes back off the rip. So let's go and establish the running game. We're getting everybody back. Rashee Rice in trouble again. But I like what the Chiefs did. I will say this also real quick about the Niners. Mike Evans was hurt last year. For the last 3 years, Shaun, play devil's advocate, Mike Evans has not had a full season of football the last 3 years. However, last time we saw Mike Evans on a football field, 132 receiving yards. Just throwing that out there. And again, if Mike Evans can go deep 2 or 3 times a game, flip the field position, when have we seen Brock Purdy at his best? When he had a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who was stretching the field when he wanted to be there, but when he had a guy like Brandon Ayuk stretching the field, stretching the terrain, we open it up for Pearsall in the slot to get loose. We don't know when George is going to get back. I'm still high on Jake Tongs. I like what he did in the time that he was there. He could be a serviceable tight end. So the Niners obviously are banking on something we don't know. Either they were able to get a physical on Mike Evans and thought this was going to check out. But in general, love what the Raiders did. I like what the 49ers did. And I also like the fact that the Chiefs went out there, got Kenneth Walker. But I also do like the fact that my guy Taron Johnson got paid. We got to shout him out. So, hey, a great day for the Raiders. Great day for the Chiefs, in my opinion. Decent day for the Niners, but they're not done yet. I could see the Niners trading some picks around. I think the Niners are going to work their way up to the middle of the first round, try to find one of those guys. If you never know. A guy like Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, for whatever reason, slips. The Niners could get active. Could get active.
Hell no, Keith. Let's not do this.
Could get active.
Oh,
you never know.
Yes. I love
2
it.
questions to you guys. Shaun, is Brock Purdy going to give up number 13?
Oh, hell no. No, unfortunately, no.
So I was
no,
on
he's
Twitter,
not.
and they were talking about how much he'd have to pay, and some guy responds, he's fucking Brock Purdy. This isn't Tom Brady. Like, he'll give the number up. And I thought about it. I was like, 15 is open. That's what he wore at Iowa State. But I don't see Mike Evans wearing another number.
Yeah, Jawan Jennings likely will not be returning to the Niners. We saw that Kendrick Bourne signed with our division rival, the Arizona Cardinals. Jawan Jennings, I hope he doesn't sign with a division rival, but he likely will not be back with the 49ers. So that would open up 15, which I believe 15 was not available because Jawan Jennings had it when Brock Purdy came out of Iowa State. But I really wish that I remember who said this. It might have been Peter Schrager or Dan Orlovsky on the McAfee special, but I really wish I remember who said it, but I'm just going to repeat what they said is that Brock Purdy, like, yeah, he's not a Super Bowl winner. Yeah, he's not a Hall of Famer yet. But Brock Purdy does carry with him in his short NFL career a pretty damn cool story, being Mr. Irrelevant and coming into the league and having the success that he has. And the fact that he's the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers and 16 is already locked up with the 49. I get your point, Kevin, about 15, but like 16 is already locked up. That's Joe Montana. 8, that's already locked up. That's Steve Young. You could even throw. No, I'm not even. I was gonna mention Alex Smith's name. No, I'm not gonna put him in that category. But the overall point being is that I feel like Brock Purdy has started to build a legacy with number 13. Mike Evans has had a legacy as number 13 at Texas A&M, and then with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But he's on a new team now. And just like we saw, I mean, Kevin flashed the jersey. We saw LeBron go from number 23 with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the great things that he did as a Cav to becoming what was it? What did they refer to him as when he went to Miami with number 6? Because I know Gilbert Arenas was Agent Zero. What was LeBron? It was something with number 6. Anyways, point being is that LeBron became number 6 because he went to a new place. And then when he went back to Cleveland, he went back to being number 23. Then he went to LA and he changed his number again. I feel like Mike Evans should change his number. I mean, you could just make Mike Evans number 3. That works too. And so I don't think that Brock Purdy should change his number. But the thing that I heard. What's up?
This brings up a good concept, which is
Okay.
that as we've gone on here, and I like Brock Purdy, you know that. The first couple of years, Kev, you bring this up. This is a good elephant in the room. Brock Purdy really has just driven the bus, right? George Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, CMC. Now, as we're starting to get towards the back end of this window for the Niners, you've seen Warner get hurt, Bosa get hurt. You've seen new guys come in like Pearsall and Mason earlier on when they had him. Now, we're going to get to see Brock Purdy, I think, especially starting this year with Kittle out, CMC on the back end of the career, really take the reins as a leader, which I'm excited to see. This arguably could be officially the year that Brock Purdy becomes a leader in that locker room. He already probably is a leader, but he becomes the sole leader of the Niners. And it'll be interesting to see how he handles that jersey thing. It's a weird thing, but I really am interested to see how Brock Purdy handles the new guys coming in and starts to form what Kyle and them have been trying to build on as he takes over that main leadership role.
And one other thing that I wanted to add on top of that, and Kevin, I believe you have one other question that you wanted to ask, but before you do, I wanted to add on to this report came out on March 1st, so 8 days ago, just over a week. But Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, who we know he is tapped in and locked in when it comes to all things football.
Steelers old report, they got to start.
Yes, but before he became a Steelers reporter for ESPN, he worked for newspapers in Florida. And so that's why he is tapped in and locked in when it comes to all things football and professional football in the state of Florida. So Jeremy Fowler came out with this report 8 days ago when it came to Mike Evans' criteria for his next team. Obviously, the 49ers checked all these boxes because they are the team he chose. Number 1, a QB he believes in. That's important. And regarding a QB he believes in, if he believes in Brock Purdy enough to leave the only place he's ever known in the NFL, then maybe he's not going to make a big deal out of a number. Number 2, and I'm waiting to see the reactions from you guys on the screen to me reading this out loud. Chance at a Super Bowl. I think the 49ers present him with a great chance at a Super Bowl, whether it comes to them winning a Super Bowl and just getting there.
You think he already has a ring?
Yes, he sure does. And that was the thing too, is on ESPN, people were saying like, oh, he's ring chasing. And it's like, well, he already has a ring. That's usually associated with someone who doesn't have a ring. He also is looking for a top shelf offensive coordinator. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is the head coach calling the plays, so you could consider him the top shelf offensive coordinator. The fourth and final thing is a promise of high volume touches. That means I'm taking Mike Evans with my first or second overall pick in fantasy because he's going to be getting 10 receptions a game.
You
But
got to be on the
also
field to
keep
do
in
that.
mind, what is Brock Purdy's strength when he's on? Obviously, when Brock has struggled, the pocket collapses on him, defense beats him up. However, though, when Brock Purdy is on his game, his best trait, he can put the football where it needs to be. Accuracy is Brock's name of the game. And you combine that with a physical, tall receiver like Mike Evans. If you throw it in Mike Evans' vicinity, it's not on the level of Randy Moss, right? That's the best we've seen high point in the football. But Kevin, don't look at me like that. When you throw the ball in Mike Evans' vicinity, we've seen more often than not, there is a chance he's going to come down with it.